Class 10th, let's continue the chapter number 11 from the contemporary world history, and the chapter name is the First World War 1914 to 1918. Okay, let's talk about the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk, March 1918. Because of this treaty, the war between Russia and Germany came to an end, right? So the two important events transformed this war in 1917. One was the entry of America in the war, and the second one was the revolution of in Russia. So in 1917, the revolution broke out in Russia, and Russian government passed into the hands of communists, right? So the government was handed to the uh, into the hands of communists. Lenin signed peace treaty with Germany to mark the ceasing of Russia's hostility towards them. So the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk ended the war between Russia and Germany. So Germany imposed many terms which were very harsh on Russia. So those imposed were like Germany occupied many prosperous and industrial cities of Russia, and Russia was obliged to pay. Means Russia was compelled to pay Germany an indemnity of 6 billion marks. That means Russia was compelled to pay 6 billion as a war indemnity to Germany, right? So that was, and this was the treaty between Russia and Germany. Means this treaty was signed between Russia and Germany to end the war. So that came to be known as the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk. Now the war came to an end when there was the entry of USA in the Great War. It brightened the hope of victory to the Allies. So Britain, France, and USA launched a massive military offensive in July 1918. The Germans were pushed back, and the German Emperor Kaiser Wilhelm lost hopes of winning the war, right? And he abdicated the throne and fled to the Netherlands. So Germany became a republic, and the new government made there and signed the armistice, that is an agreement to stop fighting, on 11th of November 1918 to mark their surrender to the Allies. So thus the Great War, that means the First World War, came to an end after signing. So after signing, after the when Germany surrendered to the Allies, after that the Germany signed an agreement, that is the armistice. That means an agreement to stop fighting. So after that agreement, the First World War came to an end, and that was signed on 11th of November 1918, which was came to be known as Armistice Day. That means an agreement to stop fighting. So this was done by Germany, signed by Germany. Now next, the Treaty of Versailles 1919, which is very important. So the terms of peace were contained in 5 main treaties. Here we would only refer to the Treaty of Versailles, that means which was signed on 28th June 1919 in the Hall of Mirrors at Versailles, that is in France. So the treaty refers to the agreement made with Germany, who was blamed for imposing a war on the Allies, right? So according to the Treaty of Versailles of 1919, Germany was blamed of the Great War, right? So the persons who played an active role in framing the Treaty of Versailles were the British Prime Minister Lloyd George, and your President Woodrow Wilson of the United States, and George Clemenceau, and the French Premier, and Orlando of Italy. Right, so these were the active, these were the persons who played an active role in it, framing the Treaty of Versailles. Now, the terms, provisions of the Treaty of Versailles. Number one is war indemnity. Okay, according to the Treaty of Versailles, the treaty declared that the Germany guilty of aggressions. So Germany had to pay a very huge amount of sum estimated around about $33 billion as war indemnity to the Allies. So Germany was to evacuate the places also she had captured during the First World War. So that was the term under this war indemnity. Now, second is the Rhine Valley. This is the area which the Germany had to demilitarized. So Germany could not maintain or construct any fortifications either on the left bank or the right bank of Rhine river. So to guarantee the execution of the treaty, the Germany or the German territory west of Rhine was to be occupied by the Allied troops for 15 years, right? Now, third is Alsace-Lorraine and the Saar Basin. So, the treaty brought about some vital territorial rearrangements. So, we know that in France, for instance, got back Alsace and Lorraine, which she had lost in the Franco-Prussian War. As I already told you in the previous video, that during this Franco-Prussian War, France lost its territory, Alsace and Lorraine, to Germany. So, according to this, after this, when the First World War come to an end, and the treaty agreement was made. So, according to this agreement, the Treaty of Versailles, the Germany had to give back the Alsace and Lorraine to France, right? So, to compensate France for the deliberate destructions of her coal mines by the Germans in 1918, she was given full ownership of the rich coal mines in the Saar Basin, a district adjoining Lorraine, for a period of 15 years. So, now next is Schleswig. So the fate of Schleswig, taken away from Denmark in 1864, was determined by a plebiscite. So plebiscite means it's a decision decided by decided by the voting of the people. Voting of people. So the northern zone voted for incorporation in Denmark, and the central zone voted for Germany. Right. Now next is Eupen and Malmedy. So another major territorial rearrangement was the Germany had to surrender the areas of Eupen and Malmedy to Belgium. So that was these territories of Eupen and Malmedy had to surrender to Belgium by Germany. So the city of Memel went to Lithuania. So these are the major territorial rearrangements we are talking about. Now next is independence of Poland. So the newly created state of Poland got back all its territories she lost in the war, First World War. Posen and almost the whole of the West Prussia were also included in Polish state. To provide Poland with a port, the German city of Danzig was internationalized. It was kept as a free city and placed under the protection of League of Nations. So, we'll talk about League of Nations later on. Trading rights through the city of Danzig increased Poland's wealth and resources. Next is, besides territorial losses in Europe and Germany, that Germany lost all her colonies and overseas possessions. Togoland, the Cameroon, were partitioned between Britain, France, and Germany. German East Africa was shared between Britain and Belgium. The Allied powers, Britain, France, and Belgium, held these territories as mandatories of the League of Nations. Palestine and Mesopotamia, present-day Iraq, were also held by Britain under the mandate from the League of Nations. So Germany lost all her colonies, all her areas, and overseas possessions also, right? Okay. So Next is, in order to prevent future aggressions, Germany's military strength was crippled. So the German army was restricted to force only 1 lakh soldiers. The navy was limited to 15,000 men only, and 36 ships, and the air force was totally banned. So no submarines were to be allowed in Germany, and Germany was neither to make nor to purchase any war tanks or the armored cars from outside, right? So and this was done in order to prevent the future aggressions. Germany's military strength was totally shattered or crippled. Now next is supply of coal. Germany had to supply the huge quantities of coal to France, Italy, and Belgium for how many years? 10 years, right? As a compensation, or we can say as a punishment, Germany had to pay or had to supply a huge quantities in terms of coal, or in terms of cash, or in terms of like reducing, or in the terms of like coal, in terms of cash, or in terms of reducing military strength, or demilitarized military, and losing all her colonies and overseas possessions, right? So as we can say that as because the treaty declared Germany as guilty of aggression, so Germany had to pay as war indemnity to the allies. Now next is, several countries gained independence. So the complete independence of Belgium, Poland, and Czechoslovakia was recognized by Germany. So the seas got Silesia, Bohemia, and Moravia, and thus was created a state of Czechoslovakia. Serbia obtained Slavonic states of Slovenia, Bosnia, Croatia, and Herzegovina, and assumed the name of Yugoslavia with its capital at Belgrade. So many countries gained independence after the First World War. Now next is very important, the League of Nations. So finally the covenant, the pact of the League of Nations was added to the Treaty of Versailles. So now next is criticism of the Treaty of Versailles. Okay, now next, criticism of the Treaty of Versailles, because undoubtedly we can say Treaty of Versailles, was the dictated peace. Why? Because only Germany was blamed for the Germany, the Treaty of Versailles declared Germany guilty of aggressions. Only Germany was blamed for that, right? For exciting the First World War, we can say. Okay, the principle at the root of the treaty was, to the victors belong the spoils, and the allies are the victors. Now here it's written, the Treaty of Versailles deprived Germany of all its colonial possessions, and imposed enormous compensation in the form of war damages, as we already discussed about it. According to the Treaty of Versailles, only the Germany was blamed guilty for the of aggressions, and Germany had to pay in terms of cash, in terms of money, cash, or in terms of supplying coal, quantities of coals to to France, Italy, and Belgium for 10 years, and Germany had to give back its territories, and Germany had to lose all her colonies and overseas possessions, right? So her military strength was completely shattered, completely crushed. Now the peace agreements therefore broke down. Germany under Hitler showed aggressions in its political activities. This became an important cause of the Second World War, which we'll come to know, or we'll read about the Second World War in the next chapter. So this Treaty of Versailles was undoubtedly a dictated peace, and people criticized this Treaty of Versailles because only Germany was blamed, and we can say that this Treaty of Versailles was one of the causes for the outbreak of the Second World War, right? Okay, beside this Treaty of Versailles, other peace treaties were also signed. So, separate treaties were signed between Austria and Bulgaria. So, these treaties, treaties agreement was signed to disarm Austria and Bulgaria, respectively, and imposed upon them a war indemnity, right? Secondly, second treaty, according to the second peace treaty, Austria Hungary, as I told you, it was this was one country, but later on it was broken up and Hungary was recognized as a separate state. So after the First World War, this Austria and Hungary, they separated, they were broken, and Hungary was recognized as a separate state. A separate treaty was made with Hungary. Thirdly, the Turkey signed the Treaty of Sevres in August 1920. She surrendered her authority practically on all non-Turkish races. Now, Britain was given control over Palestine and Iraq. Syria went under French control. Turkey retained only Constantinople and Dardanelles, right? And this treaty was never ratified by the Turkish nationalists led by Mustafa Kemal, but the final settlement was made by the Treaty of Lausanne. So Lausanne is was that treaty which made the conflict end, and the which decided the border of the modern Turkey, right? So this treaty restored to Turkey practically all the territories held by her in Europe in 1914. So these were the territorial rearrangements, we can say, the political scenario, the political map had been changed after this First World War, right? Okay, now. Next is territorial rearrangements that changed the political map of the world. The political map of the world, particularly, I told you that Europe map had been changed, was the political map of Europe was transformed after the peace treaties. So their results in brief were as follows. I told you already about the Austria Hungary was broken up and Austria recognized as a separate state. Now, secondly, Germany was forced to cede Alsace and Lorraine to France, and she had to surrender the areas of territories of Eupen and Malmedy, and Germany also compelled to hand over to Poland large parts of industrial area to Silesia. Next, new states such as Romania, Czechoslovakia, Finland, Yugoslavia were created, keeping in view the principles of nationality and nationalism. They became independent and independent states, we can say. They became independent states. Now, the war saw the end of autocratic monarchies also, right, in Germany, Russia, and Austria Hungary. And after the outbreak of the Russian Revolution in 1917, the Tsarist dictatorship in Russia also came to an end. Beside the territorial rearrangements or the changed of political map of the world, especially European map, the other various results of the consequences of the war were number one, death and destructions, right? So the loss of lives was terrible and shocking indeed, and it was believed that nearly 9 million people were killed, including lakhs of innocent civilians, as well as national self-determination. We know that the many states, many countries, they got independence. So Hungary was recognized as a separate nation, separate state. Therefore, great emphasis was laid on the concepts of nationalism and self determination at the Peace Conference in Paris. And we also refer to the creation of new states of Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia, Poland, which had been divided among Russia, Austria, and Prussia in the 18th century, was brought together as an independent state. Right now, next is emergence of new ideologies. As I told you, for a time, democracy and republican forms of government seemed to be gaining ground that time, but soon there came a total distrust of democracy in some countries. So, in Russia, the Tsarist dictatorship was replaced by the dictatorship of Communist Party. In Italy, Germany, and Spain, the failure of democratic governments led to the rise of dictatorial systems such as fascism. And in Italy, there was a rise of the dictatorial system like Nazism, right? So new ideologies were evolved out. Next is emergence of United States as a world power, powerful nation. So the armistice signed in 11th November 1918, which was based on the 14 points which President Wilson of America had formulated. So the most important points were freedom of the seas, reduction of armaments, that means weapons, and your autonomy for peoples of Austria, Hungary, and Turkey, independence for Poland, and formation of an international organizations to guarantee the independence of all states, large or whether it's large or small. So there is no doubt that economically and militarily, USA emerged as a world power after the First World War. So the position of England had long, which had long held as a creditor of Europe, passed from her to America, because the economy of Europe totally shattered down after the First World War, because most of the European nations, they were involved in First World War, so the economy had been shattered. So after the First World War, USA emerged as a world leader or a world power. The League of Nations, as one of the Wilson's 14 points related to the general associations of nations to guarantee independence and territorial integrity of all nations. The League of Nations was an association, or was an organization of this kind. So it was actually established in 1920 and had its headquarters at Geneva in Switzerland. Now come to the League of Nations. Now, what was League of Nations? So League of Nations was that organization, that associations, which was formed or which was created to promote international cooperation and to achieve international peace and security in the world after the First World War. So, in order to achieve this objective, the members of the League were required not to restore to war, to maintain open, just, and honorable relations among them, to establish international law as the actual rule of conduct among governments, and to respect all treaty obligations, rules, and regulations in their dealing with one another. Besides prevention of war, the other objectives of the League were maintenance of status quo, that is the situation that existed as a result of the peace conference, the protection of national minorities, proper administration of the territories assigned to the nation under the mandate authority of the League of Nations, dealing with the problem of health, social, economic problems, and the system of communications and importations. So these were similar. These League of Nations had similar objectives or similar aims as we have in United Nations organizations, right? So United Nations organizations also have the same aims. Now, its memberships, the League of Nations began with the 42 original members. Admission of new members required not less than two-thirds of vote of the Assembly. The United Nations never became its members because the American Senate did not ratify the League's covenant. Germany and her allies were not eligible for entry for a few years because Germany was guilty of aggressions, was blamed that Germany was guilty of aggressions. With the joining of Germany in 1926, the League's positions and strength rose high. Now, its organs, the principal organs of the League of Nations, were the Assembly of the Council, the Secretariat, and the Permanent Court of International Justice. The Constitution of the International Labour Organization (ILO) was prepared by a commission set up by the Peace Conference. The ILO became a part of the Treaty of Versailles. The League of Nations failure. Now, what is important here is the formation of the League of Nations that was formed in 1920 with the aim not to restore the war, to maintain peace, and to maintain open, just, honorable relations among the nations, to establish international law, to maintain peace, and to respect all the treaty and rules and regulations in their dealings with one another, right? And other important point is the principal organs of the League of Nations were the Assembly, the Council, the Secretariat, and the Permanent Court of International Justice. Now, important part of this agency, we can say, of the League of Nations was the ILO. ILO that is International Labour Organization, right? So ILO became a part of Treaty of Versailles. Now, failures of, or the failure of League of Nations, why it was failed. The League of Nations did much of the social and humanitarian work. So that means it failed to fulfill the or it failed to stop the further war. Like after this second World War broke out, right? So between 1925 to 1930 it was able to settle a few international disputes, conflicts, but it failed when it had to deal with the disputes in which any of the major powers was involved. So it failed in its main object of maintaining peace in the world. That is why League of Nations was failed, because it did much of the work, much of social and humanitarian work in a state of in a state of maintaining peace, or maintaining peace in the world or security in the world, and it failed in its main objective. That is why League of Nations was failed, and soon after after the failure of League of Nations, Second World War broke out. That's all for the day, children. I hope you have understood the chapter, and all the very best for your pre-board exam. Do well and give your 100% in the exam. Thank you.